Voters in North Carolina are already choosing a new option when they register to vote.
But what does that mean for the No Labels Party? Tonight, we're digging deeper into the numbers of who stands to benefit and who doesn't. It's been about 3.5 weeks since the State Board of Elections voted to recognize No Labels as an official political party in North Carolina. The most recent numbers show 419 voters have already chosen No Labels as their political party. That might be a small number, but it's what's within that number that tells us a lot about the political impact of having another party to vote for in November 2024. About a third of those voters switched parties, but 2/3 of them are newly registered voters, either reaching voting age or moving into the state.
And I think what we're learning from those new registrants is that the real people that should be scared right now are not the Democrats, they're not the Republicans. It's the Green Party and it's a Libertarian Party, right? Folks who are already going to go and choose a third party. No Labels outperformed Libertarians plus Green Party members.
So is No Labels that good at getting its message out, or is it something else?
I think there is going to be some confusion here.
If a new voter is not aware of No Labels, could they be confusing that party with the unaffiliated option? Western Carolina University political scientist Chris Cooper says yes.
So I think some of these folks know what they're doing. They're registering for No Labels because they really believe in what they perceive as that cause. But I think there's no question that a large number of these people are also a bit confused. And let's be honest, No Labels sounds a lot like unaffiliated.
No Labels has billed itself as a better option if Joe Biden and Donald Trump win their nominations. But so far, they have no candidate or list of choices. And in North Carolina, you can only vote in your registered party's primary, with one major exception.
Whereas if they had chosen the unaffiliated label, then they would have been able to choose the Democratic or the Republican primary. So one of the many things I want to see here is, does some of these No Labels folks switch back to unaffiliated when they realize that they've essentially disenfranchised themselves from a partisan primary?
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, the unaffiliated voter is still the largest voting bloc in the state of North Carolina. They have more folks registered unaffiliated, which means they can vote in either primary, as I just mentioned, than we do Democrats or Republicans. And of course, there's plenty of time between now and next year for people to register as No Labels or the Green Party or Libertarian or whatever it is.
It'll be here, though, before we know it.
Yeah, and so will the commercials, right?
Oh, yeah. They're already here.